Okay, guys, you're very, very welcome to lesson 5 of the Diploma in English for Business. And of course, I'm your educator, Jennifer. So, today we're looking at part 2 of formal English for Business writing. So, guys, this is a big week, lesson 5, and then lesson 6 is absolutely a massive lesson on the diploma, not to be missed at all. So, let's get started. So, as always, guys, we are giving away $1,000 for every single lesson. So all you have to do is attend live. That's it. And as always, winners are announced on our Facebook page every Tuesday and Thursday at 6 p.m. UK time. So guys, you just have to attend live. It's that simple. Okay, so guys, again, I'm only going to answer questions related directly to the lesson and the content during the lesson, just to stay focused. Any other practical issues we can take a look at in the question and answer session at the end, or you can drop us an email, or the support team will try to answer your questions. So yeah, Naba, there'll be a very special announcement coming up about membership, so make sure you tune in to lesson 6 anyway. Okay, so what did we do in lesson 4, guys? Do you remember last week? Absolutely. We looked at the structure of formal English for Business writing, stylistic conventions, yeah, connectors and linking devices, very good, yeah. What else? What about in terms of the grammar? Exactly, relative clauses. Yeah, we looked at formal letters and emails, and we obviously kept building our business English terminology and obviously focused on pronunciation throughout the lesson. Okay, so all of the things there. So formal English for Business writing, the structure or format, style, connectors or linking devices, relative clauses, and the terminology and pronunciation, as you all mentioned. Okay, so today's lesson. So we're going to further develop your formal English for Business writing. We're going to look at punctuation, as I promised in lesson 4. We're going to take a look at how to structure reports and proposals, and I've included samples and obviously language to support that process. In terms of the grammar, it's a heavy one. We're going to be looking at adverbs, future continuous. So you might remember in a previous lesson, we looked at future forms. So I promised I would also do future continuous at a later stage. So this is the lesson for it. We'll also look at articles as a refresh. Hatim, I just can't mention every single student's name all the time because we have very high volumes of students, but I can see you all anyway. So we've a lot to cover today, so I'm just going to really focus on the webinar. Okay, so we'll also learn how to structure presentations. We'll take a look as well at the present perfect simple. Sometimes people get quite confused with perfect tenses. We'll keep building the terminology and the pronunciation, of course. So let's begin. Okay, so guys, punctuation. What's the first thing that comes to your mind when you think of punctuation in the English language? Okay, full stop, comma, yeah, question mark. Okay, so creating pauses in writing, very good. Capital letters, yeah. Colon, very good. Yeah, exactly. So students can get sometimes a bit confused with punctuation. Absolutely, Michaela, it makes communication easier. Paragraphs, absolutely. So why do you think people get confused with the punctuation? Why is that? Exactly, because maybe it's different in your own language. Now, punctuation can be similar across most of the languages, but there are definitely differences. And also, given the fact that we're living in a very technological society, very, let's say, internet-driven, social media, etc., punctuation can suffer because people get used to shorthand and to text messaging. But in terms of your English for Business, you cannot compromise your punctuation. It's very important. It says a lot about your writing. Absolutely, Nora, it can change the meaning of words. Okay, so what are the rules of punctuation in formal English? Now, many of you have already mentioned some of the typical aspects of punctuation. So I've just tried to make it as simple as possible with some clear definitions and examples. So obviously capital letters at the start of a sentence, and they can identify important nouns, and they can be used for abbreviations or shortened versions of words. And I have an example. Now, is anyone a German speaker? Anyone, any of my students, are you German speakers? Anyone? Or learning even German? Okay, so several of you are. Okay. So what do you do with nouns in German? Let's say versus English. How do you treat nouns? So people, places, etc. How is it different? Very good. Exactly. So Linjana, yeah. Okay. Mohammed, Noor, yeah, exactly. You capitalize the nouns, exactly. So in English, we only capitalize, yeah, Helena, that's right. We only capitalize important nouns. But in German, all nouns are considered important. So it is necessary for us to take a look at this. So examples, the English for Business course will help you become a better professional. So of course, I've capitalized the start of the sentence and the name of the course. Here is an abbreviation, okay? So the shortened version of a word, and I use capital letters, like European Union, United States, so CEO, and you don't have to use the dots, okay? So you either use them or you don't. So Chief Executive Officer, so you can write CEO the second or the third or the consecutive times that you use that. Okay, so full stop. Again, most of you know this at the end of a sentence. Punctuation is important in formal writing. Fantastic example. Do you agree? Yeah? I was very proud of that example. Okay, question mark. Oh, obviously to ask a question. So why are you studying the English for Business course? So why are you studying it, guys? Tell me, why are you studying the English for Business course? And I want properly punctuated answers in the question box. So tell me why you're studying it with proper punctuation. Very good. Okay, so Yasir, to improve your skills. Asha, the same. Hassan, to be a good professional. Yeah. Enhance your communication skills. Dana, yeah. Mohammed, to improve yourself. Because you love English, Mace, very good. Hassan, develop your skills. Kayla, Abir, you're studying English to get a better job. Very good. Hiba, Zanab, similar answers. Abir, Mariam, Fatima, excellent. Khalid, guys, fantastic answers. White flower. Okay, so moving on to, it's getting progressively harder now. Some of the trickier aspects of it. So exclamation mark. So it expresses strong emotion, and it's more typical in short, informal sentences. So guys, study smart. So that is like an order or the imperative. Now, guys, the comma seems like a relatively simple aspect of English language punctuation, but it can cause terrible confusion. Some people throw the commas all around the place, others totally neglect them. You've got to sort of find a happy medium or somewhere in the middle. You've got to use them at the correct point. So obviously they separate lists or sentences, and quite often they cause a break or a pause in the sentence. So, example, a successful company needs good employees, comma, a vision, comma, resources, and a good management team. So a vision is obviously where you see the future of the company. Resources can be employees and other things that you have in the company as well. So maybe you have good IT facilities. They are resources. Maybe you have capital or money. Now, also, commas can often separate long sentences, and we saw them as well in the last webinar to separate relative clauses in the non-defining type. Okay, apostrophe. Does anyone remember when we used the apostrophe? So, Ahmed, you don't always use an exclamation mark with the imperative. Yeah, conditionals, absolutely. So for commas, it would go in the middle. But what about an apostrophe? When is it typical? Exactly. Adwena, yeah, the contracted or short form of a sentence, and to show the possessive case. Very good. So possession. So for example, Jennifer's English for Business course, and contractions. So shortened or omitted letters. So basically, for example, I don't think. So don't is contracted with an apostrophe. So it's the letters that you're not showing. And it's typical, obviously, in spoken English. Okay, so example, the company's objectives must be tangible or realistic. So tangible means realistic. Now, here the company's is possessive. The company's objectives, because they belong to the company, okay? Now, guys, what if it was more than one company? How would I write that? More than one company. So I want to show the company's objectives, and it's several companies. Very good, exactly. So it would be COMPANIES apostrophe. Exactly. Yeah, so Maze, you don't need that second S. So just the apostrophe after the S. Guys, so someone asked me again about CEO. So the CEO, it's the short for one of the big bosses or heads of a company, the Chief Executive Officer. Okay, so moving on, we're almost at the end of this section. Just stay with me. I know it's long, but it's very important and extremely useful for your English for business writing. So the colon. So that is a colon there. The 2 dots. So colons introduce long lists, and they can also introduce the second part of a sentence, and this defines the first part. And this is an example here, because I'm explaining what the colon is. So this explanation is defining it, and there is the colon. A semicolon, now this is a bit different. This can link 2 sentences so that they become one, or they could be used to separate long lists. Now, if anyone has seen a company, maybe a financial report or an extremely long report in a professional environment, you'll often see semicolons separating long sentences that are in a list. Now, some people don't use them, but they you either use them or you don't, and you be consistent, okay? And I mean, they can make your writing look very formal if you know how to use them properly. So the colon can be to introduce a long list, or to introduce the second part of a sentence, and this second part would define the first. And the semicolon can link 2 sentences so that they become one, or separate long lists. So it can be a little bit confusing, but with practice it gets easier. So again, guys, when you move on to the advanced diploma in English for Business, you're going to get to practice all of this. Your conversation skills, your business English writing, using punctuation, different conventions, and language, okay? Now, Dara, you're thinking of, yes, colon, like in the body, but that's different. So here we're talking about in the context of punctuation, but it sounds similar. Okay, so here's an example for the semicolon. So the organization made a loss last year, semicolon. Whereas this year they made a profit. Now you remember the word whereas when we were looking at connectors. So these 2 sentences, they seem semi-independent, yeah? So here the semicolon is separating, okay, the 2. Now the example for the colon is here, okay, colon, and I have the colon, and this is my definition. So that's how I can use the colon, okay? Okay, brackets or parentheses, they are exactly the same. Some people call them parentheses, and indeed in other languages it's the same, and other people quite simply call them brackets. So they introduce extra ideas or information. There's another semicolon. The sentences could exist without the information in brackets if necessary. So it's a bit like the non-defining relative clauses. I'm adding in additional information separated by commas, but in this case I use brackets, like in the example. The manager wants the employees to achieve the company targets, bracket, even if they are unrealistic, bracket, full stop. So in other words, the information in the brackets is just additional information. It's not necessary for the sentence. Therefore, I could just actually write that sentence without the information in brackets. It's just additional information, essentially. Now, English is evolving very rapidly in terms of being the global language, or what they call the lingua franca. So you'll find that a lot of very formal punctuation is disappearing. And for example, commas are often being used instead of things like brackets, and you'll see in the next page dashes. But in very formal writing, you will see these features. That's why it's important, particularly because English for Business is a more technical type of English. So you need to know the exact, correct, and proper rules. Okay? So again, just heading towards the end of this, there's a lot of information thrown at you here. Make sure you check out the recording to revise it again. It's important. And again, don't forget the weekly assignments, and they will help prepare you for the final assignment and for the advanced course. Okay, so the dash, guys, this is used in a similar way to brackets. And it can actually create a pause for dramatic effect in the sentence. Okay, so example. John was a good leader. Dash, but not a good listener. So again, I'm giving this extra information, and I am separating it with a dash. Again, this is becoming less typical, in English nowadays, but in very formal English, it still exists. So it's important to be aware of these conventions when you're studying English for Business. Okay, guys, the hyphen looks like the dash, but it's actually a smaller line. The dash is slightly longer, okay? So remember, we saw hyphens when we were talking about a compound noun or a compound adjective. So, to join two or more words to make a compound noun or adjective. So example, ex-manager. So that's your hyphen. So the dash is longer and well organized. There's your hyphen. So the first is a compound noun and the second is a compound adjective. And we saw that early on in the diploma of English for Business. Yeah, Abir, Joanne, that would be an example there. So it's two names there with a hyphen. So Masood, the second part of the sentence doesn't have to be negative. It might be. It all depends on the sentence. It might be easier to create a sentence that contrasts in fact, but it's not absolutely necessary. But that's a good question. Okay, so quotation marks. So they can be used to quote direct speech, or basically what someone else says, or to denote or tell you the name of a book, a film, a song, etc., or sometimes just important words that are in your writing. So, example. So, that was an incredible achievement, said the owner of the company. So, they are your quotation marks. Now, sometimes you'll have singular quotation marks or double as well, okay? So, they're the quotation marks to quote what the owner of the company has said directly, okay? So, guys, which of these sentences has a punctuation mistake? So, motivated employees are more productive. Confidence, hard work, determination, and leadership will help you in your career. If a company has a creative idea, it can be successful. Finally, you need to collaborate with your colleagues to succeed. Or an enterprise can make a profit if it has good employees. So which of those has the error in terms of punctuation? Exactly. So yeah, guys, number 2. So this one, confidence, hard work, determination, and leadership. So what is missing, guys, in that sentence? What is missing? Yes, the comma between hard work and determination. Very good. So the correct sentence, confidence, comma, hard work, comma, determination, and leadership will help you in your career. So the comma, of course, is separating a list of characteristics here. Now, guys, some people, you might be wondering about the fact that there's no comma before the and. You will see in some style guides or style books that some people do put a comma before the and. This is a very special situation. It's called the Oxford comma. It's not necessary. Most people do not put the comma before an and in a list. Now, it might be in a long sentence, but not in a list. But some people do. It's just easier to write it like this. When you make a list, there's no comma before the and. That's generally easier. Okay, so guys, language and conventions of reports and proposals. So moving on. So, of course, language and practices. So, guys, what do you think are the conventions that are used for reports and proposals? So, what are the typical conventions? Okay, formal language, yeah, very good. Facts, very good, yeah. Yeah, exactly. So someone is asking, a few people are asking me there, remember, in the conditional, the comma is in the middle if the if is at the start of the sentence. But if the if is in the middle of the sentence, there's no comma, okay? Zainab, convention means practices, okay? It's a formal word for that. Suitable terminology, absolutely clear, showing your objectives for the report. Very good. Okay, so, guys, it's important that you provide factual, unbiased, and this means having no opinions, information. So, in reports and proposals, the information is factual, okay? So, no opinions, no personal opinions. The difference generally is that a proposal aims to make recommendations. Now, some reports also have recommendations, but a proposal always has recommendations because you're proposing something, you're suggesting, you're recommending. So they're very, very similar. But sometimes a report will have recommendations, but the proposal always has them. Now, Mohammed, you're asking me what factual is. So facts. Factual is the adjective, okay? So facts. So information, details, not your personal opinions. So as usual, you always need an introduction, like in any formal English for Business piece of writing. You need your main body or the middle part. And your conclusion. So guys, your writing is always going to be very logical. The more you practice, the easier it gets. And that's what you'll be doing as well on the advanced diploma. You'll get to practice all of this. And guys, if you think writing is your worst nightmare, it's not at all. It's just practice. You can all become fantastic at writing using your English for Business. So guys, these reports and proposals, they have a particular yet or but a similar structure. You always give it a title, and it's easier if you insert headings or titles for each paragraph. It really makes it just really like user friendly so that the audience can clearly understand. Okay, so again, you're going to have an introductory paragraph, and this is going to state the purpose of the report or proposal. The next or preceding paragraphs, they might state findings or results, so the things you discovered. And of course, don't forget your recommendations, particularly for the proposals and that conclusion, like I said. Now, again, a key thing here is factual, so facts and unbiased information, so information with no personal opinions, unbiased. Okay, so guys, I'm pushing your vocabulary here to build it up. Now, Ahmed, introduction. Introductory is the adjective, okay? Introduction is the noun. Okay, so also guys, obviously plan your writing, be clear and coherent or logical. Make sure your work connects and flows. Don't forget your new friends, the connectors and linking devices. They will help sequence or link your ideas. Of course, use paragraphs, use a variety of vocabulary, and of course that formal, factual information, guys, language, not opinions. Don't forget to self-edit, to check your work, okay? And use the spell checker, okay? So again, guys, factual is the adjective, facts is the noun, okay? Okay, so again, so here are some particular expressions that you could use in reports and proposals. And I'm going to show you samples as well in some of the next slides. So sit tight. Now, you could obviously use something like this. This report or proposal aims to summarize. This report is based on. So basically, it comes from another source. Now, I have all the key vocabulary on another slide as well with definitions, so don't panic. Okay, so the principle or the main objective or aim or purpose of this report or proposal is to provide a description of, to present results of, to assess the importance of the new strategy for the company. So sentences like that. Don't forget your connectors. Firstly, secondly, finally, however, therefore, thus, hence, which is the same as so but more formal. The following were the main reasons given for changing the company strategy. We recommend, we suggest, we propose the following according to, let's say, according to research. Okay, we conducted a survey or research on something. The arguments in favor of the new project are, the arguments against the new project are. So you're talking about positives and negatives. So the advantages or the pros are, the disadvantages or the cons are, in conclusion. So they're just some useful expressions. So, I mean, again, don't forget you need factual information. And the key difference, of course, between a report and proposal. In a proposal, you always make recommendations. In a report, you might, but you always do it in a proposal because you're proposing or suggesting something. Absolutely, Zanab. You could say we conclude as well. So, guys, what's the difference between principle, spelled P-A-L at the end, and principle with P-L-E? So, what is the difference, or is there even a difference? Okay, so, yeah, so principle A-L can be a noun or adjective, very good, and principle L-E can be a noun. Okay, very good. So, the first principle, P-A-L, can be a noun or an adjective. And this principle spelled L-E is a noun. So I have an example, or a few examples. So the principal aim, so that was like above, and it means the main aim. The principal of the school. So, of course, you know that example, but that's the correct spelling. And my principles, that's with L-E, and they are your values, okay? And don't forget, therefore, thus, or hence are also synonymous or the same as so. Okay, so here is a sample report. What you've all been waiting for. So you're going to have a heading or a title. You can write down the word introduction. So you want to give your paragraph a name. Okay, so this report is based on feedback collected from participants in the Summer 2010 Work Experience Program. I aim to summarize these comments and offer some recommendations for future programs. So as I said, you can give recommendations in a report if you want, but you have to do it for a proposal. Okay, here's another heading, organization of a team. So firstly, most participants commented favorably on the diversity of the team and reaped the rewards of working in a multicultural environment. Several individuals mentioned that they had forged close relationships with their colleagues. However, a number of the students would have benefited from completing an English for Business language course before beginning the program. Okay, so it just continues on like that. You can have a look at this again in the recording, so I don't want to bore you by reading it line by line. But you can see in red, I have highlighted some of the useful expressions, and I have the vocabulary on one of the next slides. But the key feature is, here is the heading, and here are the subheadings for the name of each paragraph. And here I'm just giving the introduction or the purpose, and I'm expanding and presenting my ideas and my thoughts and making some recommendations. And then I conclude my report. So guys, you know, the report shouldn't be too long either. It all depends on what the company specifies that you do. Okay, so here is some terminology, because there's a lot of new words in there. So guys, to be based on, if something is based on something, it came from another source, okay? So for example, the film, let's say you watch a film, and if there's also a book with the same name, the film is based on the book. Okay, so feedback collected. So that is basically advice or suggestions gathered together. A participant, and that's somebody who takes part or contributes to something. You aim to summarize. So my objective is to give you the main details, okay? Comments, and they are of course what people say are right, and you are giving me comments in the question box. Okay, so recommendations, they are of course suggestions. Favorably, now that means positively, okay? Diversity, so if I think of a good example of diversity, it's all of you guys. We are all coming from very diverse backgrounds. There's so much diversity here in our classroom, in our virtual classroom, because you're all coming from different countries. And I'm here in Ireland, you're coming from all over the world. So that is diversity. So it's a variety or a mixture. Okay, so to reap the rewards of something. Now that's a nice little idiomatic native English speaker expression, and it basically means to gain or get benefits from something. Okay, of course, a multicultural environment, and of course we are now in a multicultural environment, and that is basically many nationalities sharing the same space. So on the English for Business webinars, that's a good example. Okay, individuals are of course people. To mention is a more formal way to say. To forge is to create, and we saw that in lesson 1. Colleagues are of course other employees, staff or professionals. A benefit is of course an advantage gained from something. Now guys, there can be 2 ways to spell benefited, okay? So you can have 1 T or 2 T's, and the Oxford Dictionary states that both are acceptable. Okay, so to encounter problems, that means to experience or to have problems, to encounter, okay? So, again, so if Mohammed, you're asking me factual. Again, maybe you weren't so clear about the explanation. Factual information is information or facts. So, for example, water boils at 100 degrees. That is factual information. It's a fact, okay? It's true. Factual is the adjective. Fact is the noun. Okay, so to propose is to suggest, of course. To allocate, so if you allocate money, that is basically when you share it out or divide it. To appreciate is to value something. To observe means to watch. At first hand, so if you experience something at first hand, you experience it from the original source. Productive, of course, so employees can be productive or very useful. Okay, so to enable is to facilitate or permit. To gain a deeper insight to, so that's to understand something well now. So to gain a deeper insight into, that's a very native speaker expression. So, Ahmed, you're asking me there about diversity. Yeah, diversity could be applied to different contexts, of course. Absolute Khalid, marriage proposal. That's another context. That's another use of the word proposal, okay, in a different context. So spot on there. Okay, so in terms of further studying, so a few people are asking about that. If you move on to the advanced diploma, you're going to get more chance to study this and actual practical experience of using all this information from this diploma part 1. Okay, so the workings of, so this is how something works or its operations. Sought. Now, sought is the past simple or the past participle of the verb to seek, and it's another verb for to look for. So maybe you sought employment or a new job. To acquire, we saw that before, that's to get or to gain. And to dedicate, that's to devote yourself completely to something or to commit yourself. And overwhelmingly positive, that means extremely positive. So you're going to see this word in a minute. It's going to become useful in terms of the next grammar point we look at. To implement, that's a nice, very formal word, and that means to introduce or to put in place. Another nice little native speaker expression, to take into account the considerations. So that's to think about what was said. Okay, so Zanib, yes, mechanism, the workings of, absolutely. Okay, so Atil, what exactly are you looking for an example of there? You've just said, can you give us an example of which specifically? So Shama, allocate, for example, let's say you work in a company and then you allocate, let's say 5% of your money to new computers, 10% to equipment. That's allocating money. Now, so Ahmed, you're asking me about pronunciation. Okay, so it just depends on the word. Sometimes English is not logical and the word doesn't look as we see. And remember, often people think about pronunciation from the perspective of their first language. So your first language is Arabic. So, you know, it obviously sounds different. And if English is your second or third language, the pronunciation can be a little bit more challenging. But the more you listen to native speakers and practice, the easier it's going to be. So listening to my voice, completing this course, moving on to the advanced course, that will all help you. And engaging with the English language every day of your life. You want to start breathing the language, using it all the time, exposing yourself to English language films, TV shows, news, newspapers, magazines, everything. Make it part of your life, and then you'll see the difference. So the pronunciation isn't always logical in English. Sometimes words can be deceptive or not look the way they're written. We saw that with negotiation. So it sounded like that, negotiation, but it's actually spelt with T. Okay, so just to break it up with a bit of grammar there. Obviously, you all love grammar as much as I do, as many of you have told me. So adverbs. Again, most of you know this. It's just a little bit of revision. So, guys, what are adverbs? What is their purpose? What do they do? Very good. Okay, so they describe verbs. Very good. They qualify them, yeah, and they are often spelled in ly. Very good, yeah, excellent, spot on. So this is just very quickly. So they generally describe verb and they typically end in ly, but not always. Like tomorrow, however, they are also adverbs, but they don't follow that pattern of spelling. Okay, so we had a couple of examples from the slides. So favorably and overwhelmingly, okay? So overwhelmingly positive. So really, really positive. So that's a nice little word, very expressive. Where do they go in the sentence? So guys, where do they typically go? So just type your answers into the question box there. Where would you typically see adverbs? Okay, so at the start of a sentence, before the main verb, very good. Or at the end of a sentence. And it depends on the context and the verb. Very good. Okay, so generally before the main verb, sometimes at the start of the sentence, and sometimes at the end of the sentence. So examples. I absolutely agree, so that's your adverb, that training is important for every organization to improve its employees. Usually, start of a sentence, we have a staff meeting every week. Now, every week is one of those adverbs that goes at the end of the sentence, like every month, every day. Now, sometimes there are strange exceptions. And you'll probably remember this when you studied General English and you were learning about the verb to be. So, for example, let's say I usually work, but with the verb to be, it doesn't go before the main verb. So, I am usually happy. It goes after the verb to be. Okay, so that's just an exception. It typically goes before the main verb, but the verb to be in the present tense is basically an irregular case of this. Okay, so which of these sentences are wrong? So, John generally works until 6 o'clock. John works until 6 o'clock generally John works until 6. John works generally until 6. So which of those are wrong? Yeah, so very good. Most of you, yeah. So this one and this one. So these are wrong. John works generally until 6. It should be before the verb. So number 1 is right. And John works until 6 generally. Generally either goes at the start of the sentence or it goes before the main verb. Okay, so very good. Okay, and now, just again, I just wanted to break up the proposal there. If I covered the proposal and the report together, it would have been information overload. You had a bit of a breather. Now we're on to the proposal. Okay, so again, guys, very similar structure to a report. The main difference, again, you have to make recommendations in the proposal because you're proposing or suggesting. So again, I have my title, Proposal on How to Attract More Members to the English Language Society. I have my introduction. The aim of this proposal is to recommend strategies in order to attract more members to the English Language Society, etc. Then I start talking about the current situation in the society and what's happening and the results or consequences of this. Obviously, I've highlighted the useful expressions or connectors in red. Then I further develop. I start to propose how to attract new members. I make further recommendations and I state my conclusion. So it's all very, very logical, sequential. It looks nice when the reader sees this. They're like, oh, this is a pleasure to read. It's short, it's snappy, all the key points are there. It's nicely laid out. It looks attractive to the eye. You basically want to entice the reader or persuade them as well with your proposal or report. So it has to look, user-friendly. Okay, again, this is the new terminology connected to that. And don't forget, check out the recording, have a look at these examples more closely. So again, the aim of this proposal or the goal or the objective in order to, and that means to or so that, to attract is to engage somebody. Moreover, of course, can also mean also. That's more informal. A variety of alternatives means many different ways or options. More appealing, of course, means more attractive. Initiatives. Okay, now this might be a little bit tricky in terms of pronunciation. Initiatives. And they are schemes or innovative or creative projects or proposals. Okay, have proved to be. Okay, so that means have shown to be, have proved to be. Therefore, we already know. Consequently, we saw in the last lesson as a result. To aim to, and that means to be focused on. To encourage, we had that before, means to motivate somebody. And to join, to become a member or to participate. For example, we saw that in the last webinar too. For instance, such as or like. A few more words. I propose, and we know that at this stage can mean to suggest or recommend. However, we saw as well, but football fanatics. So we just finished the Euro there as well, the Euro Cup. So we had a lot of football fans or football fanatics, and it's basically football fans who are crazy about football. They absolutely love it. So are many of you into football? Okay, yeah, but you'd rather be listening to an English for Business webinar, of course. Now, to avoid gender bias, now that's quite formal, high-level language, and that basically means no discrimination. You want to include both men and women, so you want to avoid gender bias. So they want to make the language society open for everybody, so everybody is welcome. Recommendations are, of course, suggestions. Furthermore can also be moreover or also. Relevant issues, they are current topics. To revamp, so that can be to improve or renew something. To explore contemporary themes, and that can be to examine modern topics. So you have like contemporary, art or literature, modern, basically. To act promptly, so that's when you do something quickly. To put in place, we saw that earlier on, and it's to introduce or implement a more diverse member base. So this language society wants to attract a more diverse member base. So members with different profiles or backgrounds. Okay, so the next installment of the grammar, which I know you're all absolutely excited about, dying to start this like myself. So the future continuous. Why and when do we use it? So does that ring any bells? So Ahmed, fanatics are basically, it's just stronger than fans. It's fans who really love something. Okay, so yeah, you're telling me there will be plus ing the verb. Very good. Yeah. Okay, so basically you use it to talk about something that will be happening or in progress at or around a time in the future. So it's this ing form. Whenever you see the word continuous, think of a wheel turning. So think of this verb continuous, ing verbs. The wheel keeps turning, and so does the ing verb or the action. It keeps happening. It's in progress. Okay, examples from the slide. Okay, so furthermore, we will be starting conversation clubs for different age groups next month. Okay, so the form, you have your subject, will be with the verb ing. So you have your future simple. So that's very straightforward. I will go, but this is different. I will be starting. We will be starting. So another example. So this time next week, we will be having a meeting with an important client. So you're thinking about something that will be happening at a particular point in time or approximately at a certain point in time in the future. And it's something that will be in progress or continuously happening in the future. So you're trying to stress the action or the ing form. Another example. John will be submitting his proposal next Wednesday. Okay, so you're using this as well to stress the action. Which of these is an example of the future continuous? We will travel to an international conference next Friday. We are traveling to an international conference next Friday. We will be traveling to an international conference next Friday. So which of those is an example of the future continuous? Yeah, number 3. So we will be traveling to the international conference next Friday. So of course, number 1 is the future simple. The second one is the future, the present continuous in a future context. First, okay, very good. Again, guys, this is just something small to refresh. This can still catch good students in terms of their writing. So it's always useful just to quickly refresh yourself on articles. So the definite article, the, and the indefinite article, a or an. So when and why do we use them? So what is the fundamental difference between the definite article, the, and the indefinite articles, a or an? So what is the fundamental difference? Exactly. So the is for particular or specific cases, and a or an is for when we're talking about things in general. Very good. Okay, so why do we use a, an, and the in the examples below? So here are the examples. A benefit, an opinion, initiatives, and the advantages. Why do I use these in these contexts? Okay, so yeah, okay, so benefit is singular. Okay, so it's a benefit in general. An opinion, okay, and that's a vowel, yeah. Initiatives is plural. So there is no plural form of the definite article. Very good. And advantages. Exactly. So you can use the. Now, if you're not sure, don't worry. That's why I'm revising this. I just wanted to see what you already knew or remembered about these. Okay, so let's move on. So the definite article, when do we use it? So as many of you said, in specific or particular instances or cases, the second or subsequent time we talk about someone, something, or a situation. So example, John has the same company logo on his bag as mine. So let's say he has a bag and it has the name of a company. So it's the same, so it's specific context. The plural form does exist, so you can say the companies. And uncountable nouns, example, money. So nouns you can't count, they can take the definite article. Okay, so the indefinite articles a and an. They are used for when we're talking about generality or something in general. Or the first time we mentioned someone, something or a situation. A is for consonants, so B, C, D, F, G, H, etc. And an is for vowels, A, E, I, O, and U. Or silent H's, so an hour. So in the word an hour, we don't hear the H. It's called a silent H. So that's why we use the an, because the word flows nicely when we speak. So vowels are A, E, I, O, and U. Okay, so example, having a clear strategy can help make a company successful. So why am I using a in this context? Exactly, because it's not a specific context. Exactly, absolutely. It's not specific. I'm talking in general. Okay, so there is no plural form of a or an. And uncountable nouns, you can't use the indefinite articles. You can't say a money. You cannot say this. You can say the money, though. Okay, so, guys, which of these is wrong? A business plan, a strategies, or an entrepreneur? So which of those is wrong? Exactly, a strategies. So it should be just strategies because there is no plural form for the indefinite article. Okay, so guys, just again, I wanted to break up there the different parts of this with the grammar too. So just very quickly, making presentations. So just a few tips on this. So at some point, you know, in your life, if you haven't already done it, you'll probably be giving presentations using your English for business, okay? So it's important to be comfortable standing up in front of a room with your colleagues or strangers and not to panic. So I'm just giving you a bit of general advice, especially if English isn't your first language. So you want to be clear on the objectives of your presentation. You want to be confident and dynamic to engage your audience. So you want to be friendly, but it's okay, you know, to make some jokes sometimes, just to, you know, to make the atmosphere, everyone is comfortable and calm and enjoying the presentation. You want to communicate clearly and coherently so that you make sense. You want to speak slowly and clearly. Don't read off a script, guys. Be natural. Know what you're going to say. Absolutely, Mohammed. Eye contact. Riyam, Hassan, you said the same as well. Very good. Okay. Use non-verbal communication. So use your hands, use gestures, use body language to express yourself. Use humor and anecdotes where appropriate. Anecdotes are stories to engage your audience. Okay, so dynamic, of course, means interactive or energetic. Coherently, of course, means logically. And anecdotes are stories. They can often engage the audience. And a gesture, we saw this already when we spoke about oral communication. So body language, shaking hands with somebody, smiling, eye contact, using your hands, etc. Appropriate means suitable. So we're suitable, okay? So in terms of structure, okay, so make sure you introduce an idea and the topic effectively to engage the audience. So it has to be clear to them. And obviously you give further explanations where necessary or appropriate. But you don't want to go on and on and on. You know, the presentation has to be short enough to engage people. Okay, so give examples, of course, where appropriate. Keep the content and ideas clear and concise or short. You don't want to go on and on or else the audience will fall asleep. Avoid too much text. Employ visuals or pictures that can help make the presentation engaging. Make sure you link and sequence your ideas when you're talking. Of course, conclude your presentation. And respond to questions for clarification, like at the end, the way we do a question and answer session. And of course, in terms of an example, you can see the way these webinars are structured. You know, we have our topic, we introduce it, we explain it, we ask questions, we have some key visuals, and there's not too much text. Now, obviously, in some presentations, there might be less text, but of course, this is a language course, so I have to put enough text on the screen for you guys to follow me. Okay, so guys, we're doing great. We've covered a lot of ground, and we're obviously heading into the end of the webinar. Your attention has been fantastic, so stay with me. We're almost there. So to engage the audience, so that's to get the audience to participate. Where appropriate, means when it's necessary. Concise means short. Visuals are, of course, pictures. And clarification, again, we already saw this in a previous webinar. It means further explanation. So guys, the reason I keep mentioning these words again and again, it's to reinforce them, because a lot of this terminology is new to you, and I want you to remember it as well and be comfortable with it. Okay, so again, the final installment of the grammar, I promise, we've covered a lot tonight as well, but this is just something, again, to clarify. Okay, so guys, why do we use the present perfect simple? What is the purpose of it? And of course, I have an example from the slides here so that it connects logically. Okay, it could be something that starts in the past and it has a present consequence, yeah, or it's just finished. Very good. So remember, you have the present simple, so routine, but the present perfect simple is obviously different. So you can use it to talk about situations that started in the past and they have a present result or consequence, or are connected to the present, or they talk about situations that have just finished, literally just finished. Okay? Okay, so here are some examples from the previous slide. So the words organized and sought, they are past participles, and they are a typical characteristic of the present perfect simple. So the example there will be, I have organized, I have sought. They are the present perfect form. Okay, some more examples. The company has just made record sales. They've literally just made. So it's the action has just finished. So you have this result of this action that started in the past, and it's literally just finished. If it happened last week, I could use the past simple, but it has just happened, so I can use the present perfect simple. The employees have learned the importance of teamwork. So this action started in the past, and this is the result of the action. So they have learned the importance of teamwork, and they've just learned this literally, and it started in the past, and it has this present result. Okay, guys, which of these is not an example of the present perfect simple? So the company has made massive profits this month. The company employed 300 new workers last year. Technology has helped most companies develop. Shaw Academy has started several new courses. So which of those is not an example of the present perfect simple? Exactly, number 2. So the company employed 300 workers last year, and that is an example of the past simple, of course. Okay, so as I promised, we're basically at the end. So I'll be answering additional questions in a second. So obviously, we further developed your formal English for Business writing skills. We looked at punctuation, structuring reports, proposals, and presentations. We looked at a lot of grammar, adverbs, future continuous, definite and indefinite articles, present perfect simple. So we covered a lot of ground tonight. As I said, the course gets, harder as we go on. We go deeper and continue on, because we have to pick up the pace so that you're ready for the advanced diploma. Obviously, we continue to develop your business English terminology and expose you to presentation. So we're going to keep building your English for business. Guys, it's really important to attend live, particularly lessons 6, 7, and 8. They are really important lessons, the really important part of the course, and they're going to really help build you up for the final exam, help you with the advanced diploma. Okay, so guys, the next lesson, it's an absolutely massive one. We're going to be talking about the job application process, creating the perfect CV and interview skills. And we'll look at more grammar, the future perfect simple and present and past participles. And obviously lots of terminology and pronunciation. So guys, attend all the lessons live and you're going to really build your skills. And don't forget, in lesson 6, we're going to announce the winner of the Shaw Academy lifetime membership. So guys, it's a really big lesson. Make sure you're there. And of course, the recording of the lessons always are available within 24 hours when you log into the website at the top right-hand corner into the members area. So guys, this lesson really is a big one in terms of every single professional needs to know how to be ready for the job application process, how to create the perfect CV in English, and build your interview skills, particularly if English is not your first language. It can be very daunting or stressful initially, but with practice, you can obviously overcome this. So it's so important that you attend lesson 6. And of course, in the advanced diploma, you'll get the chance to go through these steps: the job application process, creating your CV, creating like dialogue for an interview scenario. Guys, don't forget, we're going to be revealing the big mystery. So the clue to what Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and Shaw Academy have in common. So guys, it's going to be a massive lesson. I'm really excited, and I hope you're as excited as I am, and I can't wait for lesson 6. So make sure you are there. As usual, you know our website, our Facebook page, our Twitter account, and the email address, english.business@shawacademy.com. If your question is more of a technical nature, you can contact support@shawacademy.com. And of course, the phone numbers are on the website depending on your locale. Okay, guys, do you have any final questions? So the final assignment will be up in week 4, which is actually next week, so the end of week 4, and there are 4 practice assignments with 10 multiple choice questions. One of these is posted each week. So in terms of the final assignment, don't forget it's 100 multiple choice questions. You have 2 hours to complete it. You need to get a minimum of 70%. And you can repeat it if you don't get over 70%. So I've been asked there about the Oxford comma. It's not specifically used in English for business, but some people just use it sometimes in very formal English. But it's better. I always learned to write a list without the comma before the and. Okay, what other questions? So again, Alamir, the final exam costs €9 for temporary members, and if you become a full member, it's free. So it's obviously, it makes more sense to become a full member. And we have something very special to announce regarding that in lesson 6. Okay, so Atil, you're saying, do you need the comma? Regarding in what context are you talking about? Okay, any other final questions? Hopefully you'll be the winner, guys, yeah. So, Hubda, what is your question again? Because, guys, I'm getting very high volumes of questions here. So, I can't answer every single question. Okay, so again, if you want to become a full member, we have a very special announcement about that in the next lesson, in lesson 6. So, Yasir, so basically you're supposed to attend 80% of the lessons live. So, Rashid, the final exam will be posted at the end of week 4, and you'll have approximately 10 days to complete it. So, everything's going to be revealed about that membership in lesson 6, so stay tuned for that. Now, Atil, while and whilst. Whilst is a more formal version of while, okay? While and whilst. So, whilst is more formal. So, let me see now. What else? I'm just trying to get through these questions. There's so many of them coming in. Okay, so to gain a deeper insight, Mohammed, that means to understand something more and on a deeper level. And bias, again, if the information is biased, it means it's basically on one side. So it's not balanced information. So maybe if you provide biased information, it's maybe from your opinion only, okay? Okay, what else there? There's so many questions coming in here. Okay, so Hudda, so a sentence which, so I've gained a deeper insight into the English for Business course thanks to Jennifer. So there is an example. So yes, your insight is basically a deeper understanding. Okay, so a deeper understanding. Absolutely, Mohammed. You'd have to summarize the contact at the end of your presentation. Yes. Zanib, so once you've attended most of the live lessons, you're in with a chance to win the lifetime membership. Absolutely. Okay, Elaf, so you missed some of the lesson. We were taking a look at English for Business writing. Again, some of that. We looked at presentations, proposals, reports, punctuation, and a lot of grammar. So at TEEF, you get the diploma upon completing the final exam. Once you get over 70%, you will get diploma. So guys, again, about the videos, they are only exclusively available to Shaw Academy members. So they are not available to download. They are only for your eyes only, because we can't have those videos available to the public. It's only for our students. Okay, so what other questions there? Okay, so guys, if you're having any problems still logging in, get on to the support team. Drop us an email. Hey, Jerry, you don't typically see a slash yet anyway in formal writing. Yeah, maybe in informal. And often, of course, in IT, you know, when you write web addresses and stuff, you'll see the slash, the forward slash. So, Alamir, tune into lesson 6 and you'll see this announcement about the membership. Okay, so Zainab, again, the final exam will be posted at the end of next week. So White Flower, we're going to reveal all of that, so don't worry. So just tune into lesson 6 and you'll find out. So anyone who's just joined, you're very welcome to the Diploma in English for Business. And don't worry if you missed the first few lessons. You can catch up on them, but just make sure that you attend lessons 6, 7, and 8. Very important. So I'm also very excited, guys, as well. So, hey, okay, so that's okay. Terminology, Lena, is another word for vocabulary or words. Thank you for all your positive feedback. It's a pleasure for me as well. So, okay, so that's okay. So my support team are doing a great job here as well. So here, Shaw Academy has its own bookstore as well, and there are books there. So Elaf, the CEO, that's basically a short version of Chief Executive Officer, which is one of the big bosses of a company. Okay, so one of the top level management. And again, so Atil, are you okay with while and whilst? The explanation I gave that whilst is more formal. So Dina, we did have a look at the PowerPoint. We had a look at the presentation there. I went through the different points. Okay, you're asking about while or whilst they need a comma. So it depends on the position in the sentence. So, for example, if the while was at the start. So while I was attending the English for Business course, comma, I signed up for the advanced diploma. So if the while is in the middle, you don't need the comma, but if it's at the start, you do, like if. So the winner of the $1,000, that'll be announced on Facebook tomorrow. Okay, so the final 100 questions. So again, yeah, okay. That looks okay. Tasha, I mean, in terms of abbreviations, you're going to see them in formal writing in general, and definitely in business English. They're quite typical because it saves you repeating the same long word again and again and again. They're very, very useful in business English and other types of technical or formal English. So Dua, you can send us an email if you want, but do you have a question as well? Okay, guys, so listen, it's been an absolute pleasure, your attention tonight. So I'm just going to very quickly ask you to rate the webinar. I'm going to launch a poll. So 5 means excellent, 4 is very good, etc. So again, how do you like the content in the webinar? So again, 5 means excellent, 4 is very good, etc. So guys, it's been an absolute pleasure, your attendance in this webinar. So I'm really looking forward to lesson 6. So make sure you tune in with me. I'm really excited about it. So I'll be seeing you all in the next lesson. So wherever you are, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. And thank you all for tuning in, your patience. We covered a lot today. We still have a lot more to go in lessons 6, 7, and 8. So make sure you stay tuned and you're going to be ready for the final exam and the advanced diploma. So guys, it's been an absolute pleasure. Bye. Bye, everybody.